Welcome to Stetson Law Live, an online, interactive, informational event webcasting live from the virtual studio at Stetson University College of Law. Your host today, Assistant Dean of Admissions and Student Financial Planning, Laura Zuppo. And her guest, Professor of Law, Kristen Adams. And Director of Career Development, Catherine Martin. Our topic today, career development and professionalism.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for spending time with us and participating in our webinar. I'm excited about tonight's topic. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Zuppo and I'm the Assistant Dean of Admissions and Student Financial Planning. And with me tonight are two of my wonderful colleagues and friends, Professor Kristen Adams and Kathy Martin. I'd like to ask both of them to take a minute to introduce themselves and tell all of you just a little bit about what they do and their background. How about we start with Professor Adams?
Hi everyone, as Dean Zuppo mentioned, my name is Kristen Adams. I am a professor of law here, and I've been a proud member of this faculty for more than 14 years now, actually. I teach contracts and commercial law.
Wonderful. And how about you, Miss Martin?
My name is Kathy Martin, and I'm Director for Career Development. My interest, passion, and expertise is career and organizational talent strategy. And I'm here to help students and graduates prepare for and launch the career they want, and importantly, to help employers find them and get the talent that they need in their organizations.
That's wonderful. We have a really strong and supportive career development team. Why don't you share with our students here a little bit about who makes up your staff, maybe how many staff you have, and then how about tell us just a high-level overview about some of the programs and services that you all run. Maybe a little bit about maybe your favorite workshop.
We have, in the department right now, we have 4 additional professionals in addition to myself, and they are all JDs. They are all attorneys who have practiced. 3 of them have graduated from Stetson and went into practice in the area, and we have another person who helps to coordinate everything and make appointments and kind of orient people to what happens next when they contact us. We have a curriculum in the Career Development Office that is called our Toolkit Curriculum. And in addition to a general basic career development toolkit, it also includes items such as a project management toolkit, judicial clerkship toolkit, a careeropedia that includes a lot of terminology that might be new to new law students and new to others. When new things come in the market, we just roll them right into the Careeropedia, and it's a publication we're very proud of. My favorite workshop is probably the Career Toolkit workshop, the overall basic, what you do, when you do it, how to do it, because it includes so much important information. And we do that once, sometimes twice a year for anybody who wants to participate. It's a couple of hours, but it's a great launching pad for anybody who wants to get started whenever they want to get started.
And we're going to explore that just a little bit more, but because tonight's topic is career development and professionalism, I want to now really introduce the professionalism side. And I'd like to ask Professor Adams to really explain why law schools make such a big deal out of the concept of professionalism, and maybe some of the expectations we as a College of Law have in terms of professionalism, as well as the legal community. What is the expectation for the new graduate or for the attorney in the legal community?
Well, the short answer is that law schools emphasize professionalism because the law is all about professionalism. And it's a theme that you're going to see all the way through law school, starting in orientation, continuing in that first semester when we have a representative of the Florida Bar come in and talk with students, continuing into the second year when students take professional responsibility, which is required of all ABA accredited law schools, and then beyond. In the third year, you might get involved in an Inn of Court, which is a group of law students, professors, practitioners, and judges getting together to talk about issues of contemporary professional responsibility. If you think about it, what lawyers sell is their ability to make professional decisions and to handle and navigate difficult circumstances with grace and professionalism.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the hallmarks of that is that Stetson has an incredible reputation in the community, and when our teams go out there to compete, we're very well known for sending out professional, ethical competitors, and it's something we're pretty proud of. I am excited. Thank you, Joe, for kicking things off and starting a question. We have our first question of the evening, and I'm going to encourage all of you to start thinking about your questions, especially as they relate to tonight's topic. And as we go through the night, we will weave your questions into our dialogue. So Joe has a question. Do you recommend meeting with career development during the 1L year? I'm going to ask Ms. Martin to take that one, please.
Absolutely. And in fact, I think I have met with students who have been recently admitted, so sort of before the 1L year is perfectly okay also. And sometime they'll probably put my email up there, and you can contact me directly and set up an appointment just to chat about what you could do this summer. But definitely, we want to see a lot of you. There's a limitation on when you can contact us to talk about career development, when you can talk about the resume and specific planning. And that date is, I believe, November 1st now. And that's because it takes you some time to get used to just law school. So thinking too much about the nuts and bolts of job when you are also getting used to a new educational environment isn't really recommended. You can come in and introduce yourself, talk about what you did last summer, what your interests are, get to know us, bring some cookies. But we can't really talk to you about the content of your resume or what your specific plans are until after the 1st of November. After the 1st of November, we'd love to see you frequently.
Well, that actually leads me into one of the questions that I had for you, Ms. Martin, about the summertime. Students frequently say to me, what can I do now while I have some time in my hands to begin to get ready for my future employment? So let's talk about the summer timeline and maybe give us a sense of what you'd recommend they do.
I'd really like to see people start the planning process. We have a saying in the Career Development Office that you'll get very familiar with. It isn't real if it isn't written down. So start putting together what your specific ideas are about what you hope to accomplish while you're in law school and beyond law school. So what that means is really originating a planning process that is all your own. Write yourself letters, talk about what you want to accomplish. Among the many things I'd recommend be a part of that plan is a complete list of your contacts, how you can get in touch with them. The folks that have constituted an important part of your past will become an important part of your future. If you stay in contact with them and you allow them to continue to play an important part in your life, then they will be the support system that'll take you into your professional future during and after law school. So getting kind of a perimeter around them, a record of them, meeting with them and telling them what your plans are allows them to figure out ways that they can help to make you successful. So that's it, making a database or a complete list and kind of record of your contacts is one thing. Another thing is beginning to make some plans about what you're going to do differently. If you have things in your past that have kind of been holding you back, this is a good time to cut that anchor loose. It may be just practices, habits, hobbies, anything that isn't necessarily something that you want to bring with you into your future. This is a good time to start thinking about leaving all of that behind. Figuring out what your plan is for spending your discretionary time while you're in law school, thinking about setting some specific academic goals, how you're going to manage yourself, how you're going to make friends. Laying down all of these plans is really, really an important part of the process of transitioning into a professional future. Law school is your transition to being a lawyer. So you want to think about what that transition is going to look like and make sure that you do what you do very, very intentionally.
Thank you. We have a great question that's going to keep us on sort of the preparing for law school to start, and it's actually about professional dress and expectations during orientation. And I'd actually like for Professor Adams to talk a little bit about what does business professional look like versus business casual. Are you able to help us out with that one?
Glad to help. So business professional attire for men is easy. It's always going to be a suit. I think you can also do a sport coat, slacks, and a tie and have that be business professional. For women, a suit also always counts, but you can sometimes also wear a nice professional dress and have that be part of business professional attire. Business casual is going to be something that is just a couple of clicks more casual than that. So for men, it would be the khaki pants, the chino pants, and a nice button-down or polo shirt, but no tie and no jacket. And for women, it would be a more casual dress or skirt or pants outfit.
For a skirt and a blouse, something. What I will share with you, though, for orientation, you will actually have your professional picture taken, and that picture stays with you forever. We actually look at it sometimes when we're trying to remember an alum's face. We call it the picture pages. And so I highly recommend, please, ladies, wear a suit for orientation. Also wear shoes that are going to be kind of comfortable because you will do a lot of walking that day. And gentlemen, please wear a suit. I would think Miss Bryant, who runs orientation, she actually specifically wrote in your information, suit, or business professional, and parentheses suit, I believe. So let's be more conservative and a little bit more formal for orientation. And I actually want to stay on the summer topic here because this is some of these things kind of go hand in hand. I would like to ask Professor Adams to talk a little bit about what a 1L or a rising 1L can do to get ready for their bar application, and why is that so important, and why does Stetson push completion of the bar application as a 1L? What's up with that?
Okay, so this is another situation in which we emphasize something because we know that there are external constituencies who are going to emphasize it with you as well. And so one of the very best things that you can do in the summertime before you get busy with your classes is to get your financial house in order, but also get the documentation about yourself in order. Information about where you've lived, all of the jobs that you have had. If there have been legal matters, what are they? And making sure that you have all of the documentation along the way. I referred a short while ago to a meeting that you will have in your first semester of law school in which one of the executives in the Florida Board of Bar Examiners is going to come and meet with you. And she's going to talk with you about the kind of disclosure that the bar is going to require of you as a matter of candor and fitness. And so we have you get ready for that because we want to make sure not only that by the time you graduate and you're ready to sit for the bar exam that you have received your character and fitness clearance, but also so that you can participate in a clinic, hopefully no later than your last year of law school. You need to have that clearance already in place, and that's a lengthy process.
You know, while we're on the topic of clinics, we might have a few folks watching the webinar who don't actually know the difference between a clinic and internship, and I recognize this is off topic, but it's a very important distinction. And why do we need to have our CLI for a clinic?
Great question. So the major difference between a clinic and an internship is this, and that is that when you're in a clinic, you are actually practicing law, directly practicing law, under the immediate supervision of an attorney, but you are practicing law. Whereas in an internship, you are assisting someone who is practicing law, but you are not personally practicing. So that's the main difference there.
Thank you. And how about the clinics that require the character and fitness clearance, would those be when you would work with a judge? Is that sort of the type, or is it for all clinics?
It's not for all clinics, but it's also not quite as limited as
Okay.
just those in which you are working for a judge. We have a list of the clinics, and if a student had a particular question about one opportunity or another one, I'd be glad either to answer the question myself or refer them to Professor Cynthia Batt, who is our Director of Clinical Education.
Thank you. And actually that list that Professor Adams is talking about is on our website. If you have any problems looking it up, just let me know. I want to stay on the bar. We actually have a question from Jennifer. Thank you for typing that, Jennifer, about assistance. Does Stetson offer any assistance with the bar application? Because she's not sure about what to include and what not to include. And I think you're probably the best one to help us with that again.
Glad to help. We do offer assistance, and some of that will come through the Office of Career Development or the Office of Student Life. Some of that will come through our Office of Academic Success, specifically the bar preparation group. So there are a lot of people on campus who can answer questions for you about various aspects of the bar application for the bar examination. In addition, if you end up needing to do something called an application amendment, I don't know if that's something you'd like me to talk about.
Absolutely, that was next on the list.
An application amendment is a correction of a matter on your application, and you need to think of your law school application as a living document. It's something that needs to not only be accurate when you matriculate, but also remain accurate through your time at the College of Law. So if either something happens during law school of the nature that requires disclosure, or if you come to realize that you have not disclosed something that should have been disclosed prior to matriculation, you're going to need to deal with that during the application amendment process. Many application amendments are very easy, very simple. Others are quite serious.
Let's use an example. Every so often, someone, when they complete their admission application, will list only the jobs that they think are relevant, legal-related jobs, but they may have overlooked or chose not to include jobs where they worked at a restaurant or in retail because they didn't think that the admissions committee would care about that information. However, the Florida Bar App, for example, will want to know about your employment for the last 10 years or since high school graduation, something along those lines. Don't quote me on the exact language. So what happens is if the student does not update their resume with us and they fail to tell us about those few retail or maybe service jobs, and then when they share them with the bar examiners are going to raise a red flag and say, hey, how come you didn't disclose that to the College of Law? So that's just one example. So as you are all out there wondering what to do with all your summer free time, I always recommend that you retrieve the documents from your computer that you saved and you upload it to us and go through them with a fine-tooth comb, making sure that if you have any amendments or edits or changes, let us know prior to matriculation, please. All you have to do is email me and saying, hey, Dean Zuppo, I forgot to tell you about a speeding ticket that I just found out was $153. I thought it was only $130. I want to amend my application. This is the time, everybody, to really take a look at your documentation and make sure all of your ducks are in a row to get ready for school to start.
Right? Absolutely, and the one thing I would add there is, as Dean Zuppo has mentioned, sooner is always better than later, and don't guess. Instead, make sure you know the answer prior to doing an amendment, and if at all possible, if you need to amend once.
That's great advice. I'd actually like to spend a couple of minutes talking about a couple of areas regarding the bar that are actually near and dear to my heart. For those of you who are seeking loans, for example, to pay for law school, you may have already found out that the Federal Direct Loan Program has a loan called the Graduate Plus Loan. And with that loan, they actually check your credit. And every year, I have some incoming 1Ls who find out that their credit was denied. And usually, it's as a result of a mistake. There's an error on their credit report, or there's an unpaid debt that they didn't realize was on there. And then finally, there are some folks that know they have some adverse credit. This is actually the time when you really need to get those things taken care of, and I recommend strongly that you pull your credit report. More and more bar examiners across the country are actually looking at credit they're looking at adverse credit as one of the elements to allow you or to prevent you from becoming a member of the bar. They're not looking at your score, okay, but they are asking you questions such as, have you bounced a check in the last X number of years? Are you more than 30, 60, or 90 days delinquent on a note? Have you ever defaulted on a loan? So the boards of bar examiners across the country are actually asking these questions. And our law students are finding that they can clean up a lot on their credit report just by running the credit check, looking at it, writing some letters, and getting things taken care of, especially if they're mistakes. And then the final thing that I just want to share on that topic is that I've had a few of our graduates go into positions that require financial responsibility over large funds or client funds, and they've had employers check their credit as part of the hiring process. We want you to use your time now in the summer to just clean up everything. Your financial house, get your job situation, get it all ready, know what you're doing, develop a plan so that when you get to law school, you can focus on law school. All right, so if you have questions about your credit report, how to access it, how to understand it, I'm always happy to help you, and I have some wonderful resources out there from some nonprofit groups, and would love to share them with you. So let's keep some questions going, guys. I'd love to see some questions from our viewers. It looks like we have a bunch of folks out there. But meanwhile, I think I'd like to move on to some other professionalism topics, and I have a good one for Professor Adams. Now, every so often, we get an email from a student that's looks more like, what, a text? Mm-hmm. We get a text. And we know, and we all use our smartphones to ask questions. Can we talk a little bit about the expectations that we have as a College of Law and in the legal profession about appropriate written and oral communication, and a little bit more about the level of formality of this profession?
Great question. So a couple of things. One of them that I want to start with is the fact that law is a fairly formal discipline, and especially for those of you who may be coming from a university with a very casual environment or another graduate program, I want to make sure that you know, so you're not surprised by this, the fact that generally speaking you are going to refer to your professors as professor or doctor, depending on the individual, so-and-so. So we don't do first names in law school with faculty members. And I would say that staff members are somewhat of a mixed group in terms of individual preferences. And so you'll probably want to err on the side of being more formal rather than less formal, and letting, for example, a member of the staff let you know if a first name is appropriate. In terms of email, I really want to encourage you to take advantage of some of the very good things about email, like the fact that email lets you slow down a conversation and really invest some time and care in crafting your answer. And so when you use email, I want you to think of it more as if you were writing a letter and less as if you were sending a text message, to use the analogy that you gave, Dean Zappo.
I think that's a really important topic, and I want to continue on it just for another moment, and then we have a couple of good questions. Every so often a student will want to express something, and Professor Adams, in her former role as the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, actually coined this beautiful term, and I'd like to share it today: personal advocacy. And as part of your learning here, both in the classroom, how to be an advocate, one of the things you're going to begin doing is a lot of personal advocacy. And our hope is that we help you as a whole person. Can you share a little bit about what your thoughts are? What is personal advocacy? Because I really love that concept.
A lot of the notion of personal advocacy for me has to do with another little phrase I made up called getting to your second instinct. And that is when you are upset about something, worried about something, getting some distance from the emotion to make it possible for you to articulate exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish and do it in a way that can be heard. One of the things I know you've heard me say, Dean Zappo, is that communication is about more than sending the message. It's about preparing the message and sending it in a way that it can be heard and taken seriously and can help you get the result that you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And by the way, communication strategy is one of my very, very favorite things to talk about. And so if you as a student have a situation in which you're trying to navigate a difficult conversation, come and see me, send me an email. I would be glad to help you brainstorm on that.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And before we take these questions, I want to do a final touch on written communication. Ms. Martin, can you share the importance of a thank you note, please? It's a very important part of our professional etiquette, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about that.
I cannot adequately stress the importance of social notes in general, but thank you notes in particular. We actually have a supply of appropriate kinds of note cards that can be used, but one thing you can buy and bring with you to law school if you're making a list are white, gray, or buff-colored plain social notes, not ones with pictures of kitties or pictures of cars or anything like that, just plain notes. If you are a printer or a cursive writer, get used to it. We recommend in this market and in this day and age, the best social notes are handwritten, hand-crafted, composed, and are sent through, yes, the U.S. mail. I know there is such a thing. Professor Adams, I know, has something that she wants to add to this, because the two of us have actually put together, it's usually held around Valentine's Day, a whole seminar on notes and the etiquette of social notes. And it's great fun. We have wonderful examples of what not to do and a lot of things you've never heard before. So you can look forward to that too. But Professor Adams, why don't you jump on in here?
In case you ever wonder whether thank you notes matter, you need to come by and visit my office. So until recently, I had never thrown away a single thank you note that I had received from a friend or colleague or student in the last 14 years. I did, in moving my office, finally go through and call them a little bit, but then I organized them, and they are now enshrined in these gorgeous leather binders in my office. And so I keep them because they're special. I mean, good thank you notes are really a treasure.
One of the things that we want you to be is memorable. And believe it or not, these are things that writing social notes or writing thank you notes is a skill that you can learn and practice. This would be a good time to do it. Sending notes to former professors, former employers, letting them know what your plans are, makes you memorable. And to see them nowadays, where you don't see them as often, is impressive to individuals from a range of generations, not just our older employers or our older professors, but everybody appreciates something that is very different, something that is well thought out, something that is intentional and personal in nature. We can help you with the composition part of that, but don't underestimate the power of something that represents such thoughtfulness, because it's genuinely appreciated, and it's something that someday you will do for your clients. So think of it kind of that way. It's a really, really good habit to get into, and we can verify that with employers and influencers all around. We don't, our offering in the Career Development Office is really insight-based. We learn these things from people in our market, and that's one that will always stand out.
Absolutely. We are in just another second here going to take a little bit of a break and show you a really cool video. But before we do, Shantae, you asked a question about financial advocacy, and yes, indeed, we offer our financial advocacy course and will continue to do so. If I do say so myself, it's fantastic. If you if you all could please try to take it at one point or another during your second or third year of law school, I would really appreciate it. I think it's a beneficial, real skills class. When we talk about helping you hit the ground running, that's an example. Before I take Joe's question about social media, I'd like to break for just a minute or so and let you guys watch a great video.
The thing that I love about Stetson is it doesn't just teach from a theoretical perspective, but also from a practical perspective, and it really allows you to practice your skills. So I know that it will help me succeed in life after law school.
I think Stetson has done a great job of preparing me for life after law school. They give you a chance to take on a lot of different responsibilities, but also the support you need to fulfill those responsibilities and get things done.
Stetson prepared me not just how to think like a lawyer, but how to act like one too. Intelligent, courteous, always professional. It's the whole package, really.
Stetson provided me with practical legal experience so that I could be successful in the legal profession.
Stetson's pro bono requirement really teaches students how to become valuable members of the legal community.
At Stetson, experiential training is just as important as theoretical training. Stetson has given me the tools to take what I've already learned in my background and use it in the legal profession.
The clinics and internships here at Stetson provide us with an opportunity for hands-on training before we enter the legal field.
I really enjoyed working with the clinics and internships here at Stetson. It's really prepared me for life outside of law school.
Stetson really offers us a lot of hands-on experience to prepare us for the real world.
I hope everyone enjoyed our little commercial break. We got to see some of our students and alumni up there talking a little bit about Stetson. And now I want to talk about social media. And Joe sort of threw the ball up in the air for me to spike because I had that as a planned conversation as well. We have a talk about social media, a conversation about social media on a pretty regular basis. So I would like to just first talk about the sort of the three main ones that I think people use right now that we're kind of in tune with: Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I'm going to ask Ms. Martin to talk a little bit about LinkedIn in a moment, but the first thing I want to talk about is your personal social media accounts. I have an example of the importance of locking them down that I'm going to share. First, Facebook. Several years back, number one in his class had a wonderful opportunity at a big law firm. His Facebook pictures were fairly public, and they did not portray the same persona as he portrayed as a candidate for this prestigious position. During the offer and hiring phase, everyone does lots of checks on you, and they look at publicly available information. And what this firm did was they employed interns to look up social media pages. When they found this person's very, very social photographs, they were very disappointed at the persona, and they didn't want that person representing their firm, and they rescinded the offer. Now that's an extreme case. Let me give you another situation. I had a young woman several years ago who had a Twitter feed that was not on lockdown. It was public. And pretty much every company signs up for Google Alerts. Stetson Law signs up for Google Alerts. So when you type something in about Stetson Law and it's public, it comes through and we check it out. And this young woman actually wrote a lot about her law school excitement and how thrilled she was to come to Stetson. But on the same note, she wrote a lot about her social life and used profane, graphic language that was completely unprofessional and unacceptable. And I had a meeting with her and really encouraged her to clean up her social presence. So can you use LinkedIn? Can you use Facebook? Can you use Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat or whatever else there is? Yes. But remember, anything that's on the internet is permanent, whether we like it or not. Your friends or colleagues could take a screenshot of something you've posted and keep it forever. So use your judgment, use your discretion, be very intentional about your use of social media, especially the social media platforms. Now I want to talk about something that I am really excited about, and that's LinkedIn. I have come to love LinkedIn. Thank you to Ms. Martin for that. And I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about how valuable of a tool it is.
In the career development office and in the career development environment, we actually think social media is great. Whether it is LinkedIn or whether it's Facebook or whether it's Twitter, all of these opportunities are just that. They're opportunities to get your professional presence out there. In the case of LinkedIn, it is really a good idea to have a LinkedIn page and a profile. But it's really important that it be as complete a profile as possible, meaning that you're going to want to put a photograph, a professional photograph on it if you have a page, that you're going to want to identify yourself in the capacity that you want to be recognized. So in your case, it will be law student or soon to be law student. Put Stetson University College of Law, indicate your intentions. Be very, very careful not to put too much, although these things can change. You want to represent yourself in the best possible light. Certifications, licenses, your undergraduate education, honors, awards, things like that are all appropriate. You can elect to put employment if you think it is representative employment, if you're comfortable with it. When you get here, or even if you want to call us and ask about it now, you're welcome to do that, or shoot us an email. But by constructing a professional LinkedIn page, you really begin to build a professional presence and the ability for people to get in touch with you. So we really like LinkedIn, and we advocate for having LinkedIn connections, contacts. It's a great way to build your network. There's a way to go about doing that, and we can talk about that when you get here, or you can call and make an appointment and ask a little bit more about it. Anyone in the Career Development Office is happy to help you.
Thank you. Would you like to add some things to that, Professor Adams?
Sure, just a couple of quick things. First is on Twitter. I'll just be very blunt about the following, and that is anonymous Twitter accounts aren't. I've seen them cause a lot of trouble for people. If you don't want your name to be associated with what you've written, that should be telling you something, and you really can't count on it remaining anonymous. It's caused a lot of people a lot of difficulty. Second thing I want to mention on a much more pleasant note is going back to LinkedIn. Within the last week, I've heard from an alumna, someone I hadn't heard from in, more than 5 years, someone I'd thought about a lot over time, and was so pleased to get a LinkedIn request from her. And it gave me the opportunity actually to write a letter of recommendation for her on a position that she is hoping to get. So I was pleased to hear from her, and I think that I was able to be helpful for her in a way that I would not have been if we hadn't connected via LinkedIn.
Thank you. We have a great question, and this takes us back to you, Ms. Martin. Joe is asking us about employers coming to campus. Can you tell us a little bit about OCI at Stetson?
Actually, Laura, it's called OCR.
It is.
Now it's On-Campus Recruiting. In the past, it was structured a little bit differently. Most employers, larger firms, firms in particular lines or specialties would sign up or apply to interview our students as 1Ls, 2Ls, or 3Ls. There are opportunities in the spring, though not many, for 1Ls. Then our second-year students and third-year students have opportunities that are actually coming up when you will be coming onto campus for the very first time. Nowadays, employers connect with us either for on-campus interviews, in which they will screen almost everybody who signs up, or they will do what we call resume collection, and we will forward them resumes and they will interview off-site. So it's called On-Campus Recruiting, and it covers all of this recruiting season. And what they're looking for may be students who will be summer associates in the summer between 2 and 3L. But they're interviewing now.
Okay.
It's a very competitive process. We have a substantial and growing number of employers who are participating, not just in this area and this market, but also in other markets across Florida and in other places in the country as well. There are firms that have solicited us and asked for resume collections. Some of them are also local, but it's an excellent, excellent opportunity for us to get together and talk about your intentions and your interest. Some of these employers are firms, some are small firms, some are large firms, some are medium firms. Some are nonprofit employers, some are government agencies, some are military. So there is a range of opportunities. Not all of them have the same kinds of pay or benefits, but they're all excellent opportunities that all students, regardless of your grades or class rank, should consider applying for when the time is right and when you are qualified for the job that an employer is advertising.
Well, and I think that actually leads to the second part of Joe's question. How does the Office of Career Development prepare a student for the OCR process? And maybe as you're talking about that, can you talk a little bit about simplicity? Is that part and parcel?
Well, simplicity is, let me take that part of this topic first. Simplicity is our online communications and information platform. When you arrive during orientation, you will get a password and a Simplicity account, and all of the job postings, all of the OCR opportunities, all of our notifications are posted on Simplicity. When we have an employer who says, I need somebody quickly, before we post a job, we will do a database search. And if you are in the database, we'll find you. If you're not, we likely won't. So you need to get involved with Simplicity and see all of the many features and advantages that it provides. The second part of this question is, how do we work with you to prepare you for employment opportunities of any kind, not just on-campus interviewing or recruiting. But if you are working with us, if you have an ongoing relationship with a career development coach or one of the professionals, then we will probably reach out to you and say, here's an opportunity. But what we like to do is get to know you by taking a look at your resume, taking a look at the cover letters that you may have written, and then talking to you about the content of an interview and what you will likely be asked and how you should respond to some of these questions. So we have a lot of different ways to prepare, and as we develop a relationship with you, we'll offer you those opportunities and you can sign up. Right now, for example, we are screening resumes, we're screening cover letters in active advance of the fall on-campus recruiting season.
One of the elements of the job search process is securing good recommendations. And I would actually like to ask Professor Adams to talk a little bit about the role of faculty as mentors and advisors and the importance of developing relationships with your faculty as you pursue employment.
So one of the things I really want to encourage all of you to do is to get to know your professors. We search for and hire faculty members who enjoy working with students. Chances are most of your professors are going to know you by name, even if it's a big class. We actually work hard on that. And we like spending time with our students. So get to know us and let us work with you as you try to figure out what direction you want to go in with your legal career. We are in no way a substitute for the expertise in the Career Development Office. We are a complement to it, and we work very closely with the Office of Career Development. I love writing recommendation letters. I really do.
She really does.
and I think I do a pretty good job with them. And one of the things that I love about them is that they give me the opportunity to tell the world how wonderful and how unique the student is. And of course, I can't do that for you if I don't know you, right? So you need to get to know your faculty members and let us be part of your conversation with yourself as you're trying to figure out where to go with this law school experience. May I share another few thoughts about the first year?
Sure.
Because as I think about getting to know your faculty members, a couple of other things come to mind. One is, don't forget to enjoy law school. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's pretty overwhelming at times, but it ought to be wonderful, so expect it to be. The 3 years, or if you're in part-time and stay part-time 4, are differently wonderful from one another. Each year has a rhythm all its own, but enjoy the journey, and I do mean that profoundly. The first year is a feast. It really is. You never know what's just around the corner for you in terms of the classes that you're going to take and the experiences that you're going to have along the way. Another thing I really want to encourage you to do starting in your first year is don't miss out on the good stuff. We bring in so many wonderful speakers. We have amazing workshops for you. It's easy to think in the midst of the busy first year that you are too busy to go hear that wonderful social justice lecturer, or too busy to go to one of the career development workshops, or too busy for whatever it might be. But we do them for you. And so I really hope that you will take advantage of these opportunities. And I'm sharing this with you because that's not a lesson that I learned early in law school. I had my nose to the grindstone so steadfastly that I missed a lot of the good stuff along the way when I was in law school. And my wish for you is that you will enjoy every moment and take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way in law school.
Well, we have a sweet note. Is that Carolina? I think it's Carolina. She says, as a side note, the sample recommendation letters in Dean Adams' book, which she co-authored, it's called The Practice of Law. You should check it out. Were very helpful in understanding what they typically are like. So thank you, Professor Adams, she says.
Oh, thank you so much. That just made my day.
The Practice of Law School. Practice of Law School, Dean Adams.
That just made my day. Thank you.
We have a couple of other questions, and the first one I want to get to is actually about alumni networking. And Joe has the question, and we were talking about this one as a question in case it didn't come up. Do you have a way to connect with alumni, connect students with alumni in the area that they would like to pursue? So if someone's interested in environmental law, is there a way to get involved with attorneys who work in that area?
Well, I'll make a pitch for the student organizations. There are dozens of student organizations. You will have your pick, and that's an excellent way of connecting with not just alumni in the area, but also other students who have similar interests, so that you can network with them and compare, share, and develop resources. So I have to make a pitch for the student organizations. I think in general it's hard not to do alumni networking at Stetson. Our alums are so involved in our day-to-day life that you will encounter them often, and they will be very interested in you. My best advice, and this is one more thing that you can do over the summer, is that you are going to be asked often and persistently, so what do you want to do after law school? What is your area of interest? And if you don't know the answer is not, I don't know the answer. Very likely you don't know the answer, very likely you won't know the answer, but it's very important to develop some talking points to keep that conversation going, because you want to befriend and stand out from the crowd with, and look for support from the people who show an interest in you. So developing some talking points about what you like to do, what you're good at, what you think you might want to do, what you're considering. This is a great time to ask for advice. So think about what you will say and how you can advance your network building skill. And we kind of call it network building because we think of it as a long and detailed and complex friend-making process, not just a exchange of business cards and a follow-up email. It's a real thing here, and so we actually do a workshop on network building, and our alumni organizations locally and across the state have a large role also. And I think you mentioned Inns of Court. That's another way to connect with alumni. Do you want to elaborate on that? Again?
I'd be glad to. And in going in that direction, also wanted to share introverts, fellow introverts, I should say, don't be scared. You can do this. And our Office of Career Development is really, really good at helping introverts with their network building and friend making. So don't be scared.
I have 2 introverts who run a workshop on network building for introverts, and they're great. They have the best networks in town.
I just want to add a little bit, and I'm going to actually ask Professor Adams to talk about it. We have a lot of alumni who come to campus on a regular basis to coach.
Yes.
I'm always impressed with the amount of giving back we see with our alumni of their time. Could you give us just a few specific examples of maybe what do they do when they're involved with coaching?
Oh, our alums are amazing. So they will come on campus to either coach a team, which involves their having direct responsibility for the members of the team, and they travel with them to the competition. Or even if they are not involved as coaches, they may volunteer to bench the team, which is judging a practice round and asking really good, really tough questions so that you will be ready to uphold that great Stetson name and tradition when you're out there competing. I am always delighted, amazed, and somewhat awed by the way that our alums give of themselves and give of their time.
Absolutely.
We were talking about Inns of Court just a moment ago, and this is an area where I think Stetson is really special. We place students in a lot of the Inns of Court. I think I mentioned them a short while ago. They are groups of professors, practitioners, young and old, or junior and senior, I should say, and judges and law students who get together typically on a monthly basis to discuss issues of contemporary professionalism. And we help students who are interested in an Inn of Court. We have a streamlined central application process through our Office of Student Life. Typically that's going to be for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year students if you're part-time, but it's something that you can start learning about during your first year because it's really an extraordinary way to get to know attorneys in the area. And we had a question about specific subject areas. Some of the inns are subject specific. I know we have a family law Inn of Court, a bankruptcy Inn of Court, a criminal appellate Inn of Court, an elder law Inn of Court. Some of them are general practice inns as well. And so whichever way you tend to be leaning, there's likely to be an Inn of Court that's a good match for you, and it's a fantastic opportunity.
Thank you. We have a few more minutes left, and I actually want to touch on a sort of a career development timeline here. One of the things that we were chatting about was the timeline from pre-enrollment all the way through, and what I love about our career development office is that they actually make a lifetime commitment to our alumni. Just as my financial aid team, the same thing, we work with a lot of alumni on financial aid loan issues. So will you please give us sort of a high level of what should students be doing at different markers from, pre-enrollment we talked about, as 1Ls, rising 2Ls, 2Ls, etc.
Okay, I think I can.
I know you can.
I'm not sure if I can get specific enough for the audience, but let's give it a try. For the first year, what we're going to recommend is especially the first semester, you're going to pay attention to those grades. Law school is harder than you think. This is not, this isn't scary, but it is not a time to sort of continue your, the flow of your education. This is time to develop really good habits. Meet with academic success, get yourself on a study schedule, make sure that you apply discipline to the first semester for grades. Grades matter for a short while. You are in that short while. So that's very, very important. The second thing I would say is that how you spend your discretionary time while in law school makes all the difference in the world. Now that may mean weekends, that may mean your part-time job, that may mean your holiday break, that may mean your spring break or the summer. But prepare yourself to spend time meeting attorneys, volunteering for in your pro bono requirements. Try to get as close to the profession as you possibly can. So in the summer between 1 and 2L, there are any number of things that you might do that might include working in a firm, working in a nonprofit organization, doing some of your pro bono, studying abroad if you think that will advance your personal goals. But you're going to want to get some legal experience, internship, volunteer experience. You're going to want to begin to get that on your resume. As you get into 2L, the opportunities will begin to present themselves. There are internships and clinics. That's one of the reasons you have to get that bar application underway. That's something that I think you need to complete and file for the first time in January of 1L. So that's something that you can be working on. You're going to want to get some career development language and skills kind of into your repertoire, and we can help you with that. The summer between 2 and 3L, you're going to want to spend working somewhere in the law if that's possible. Depending on what areas you're interested in, there are different career paths that we talk about a little bit differently. But if you want something if you know what you're interested in doing, if you have some very specific questions, you are welcome to call me up or send me an email, and I'll see if I can't help you. But generally speaking, that's my recommendation. Is that adequate, Dean Adams or Professor Adams? Do you want to add something to that?
I just want to echo a wonderful statement that I've heard you make, which I think is really, really helpful for students to be thinking about as they're entering law school. You've shared with me that when you hear a student say, "I've always wanted to go to law school," as soon as day one of your legal education begins, okay, you've done that. Time for a new goal. So time to start thinking about what's next. It's never too early to begin that process of trying to figure out what comes next. I also love hearing you talk about the importance of the first job in context. And so since you say that better than I, that the first job is important, but it's just that. It's the first job.
Exactly. Manage your expectations, I think, is the preface to that. We call it kind of your launch job. Mm-hmm. It's the first job after law school. And I want to say it's really important to remember that the first job or the launch job is not the dream job. It's the one that gets you access to the next levels. So it's important to keep it in perspective. It requires an enormous amount of patience, attention to detail, and it isn't necessarily the most fun one you'll ever have, but we will help you get it.
We have just about 30 seconds to go before our webinar is over. For those of you who logged in toward the Hope you know that as we always do, we will repost this on Stetson Connect so you can watch it in full. Also, keep in mind we've posted our email addresses. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to answer your questions. That's why we put these webinars on. And finally, I hope everyone is actively completing steps 1 and 2 as you get ready for orientation, and I look forward to seeing all of you in August. Thank you so much for coming out, and thank you to Professor Adams and Miss Martin. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Stetson Law Live. For more information, send us an email or give us a call. For your convenience, our contact information will remain on screen for the next few minutes. Be sure to check our homepage often for news, information, and updates. Thanks again. We look forward to hearing from you soon.